Melissa Gilbert was born on May 8, 1964, in Los Angeles, California, and adopted as an infant by actor and comedian Paul Gilbert and his wife, Barbara Crane. Growing up in a household already connected to entertainment, Melissa was introduced early to auditions, scripts, and studio lots, experiences that felt normal to her long before she understood how unusual they were. Hollywood was not a dream she chased later in life. It was simply the environment in which she was raised. Even so, her success was never guaranteed. The industry could be unforgiving, especially to children, yet Melissa demonstrated an early seriousness and emotional awareness that set her apart. She learned quickly how to take direction, handle rejection, and stay focused amid pressures many adults struggle to manage. These early years laid the foundation for her resilience, shaping a young girl who would grow into far more than a former child star. From the start, Melissa's journey reflected both opportunity and responsibility, a balance she would spend much of her life learning how to maintain. Becoming Laura Ingalls Wilder and a cultural icon. Melissa Gilbert's life changed forever when she was cast as Laura Ingalls Wilder on Little House on the Prairie in 1974, a role she began playing at just 9 years old. Based on the beloved books by Laura Ingalls Wilder, the series quickly became a cornerstone of American television, offering stories centered on family, perseverance, and moral strength. Melissa's portrayal of Laura, affectionately called Half Pint, captured hearts because it felt genuine. She brought curiosity, stubbornness, vulnerability, and warmth to the character, allowing audiences to grow alongside her for nearly a decade. Week after week, viewers watched Melissa mature on screen, experiencing childhood joys and hardships in ways that felt deeply relatable. Her chemistry with Michael Landon, who played her father Charles Ingalls, added emotional authenticity that still resonates today. By the time the show ended in 1983, Melissa Gilbert was no longer just a child actress. She had become a symbol of innocence, strength, and emotional honesty for generations of viewers around the world, expanding her craft beyond the prairie. After Little House on the Prairie concluded, Melissa Gilbert faced a challenge common to child actors, proving she could evolve beyond an iconic role. She met that challenge head-on by taking on demanding projects that showcased her depth as a performer. One of her most notable early achievements was The Miracle Worker in 1979, where she portrayed Helen Keller opposite Patty Duke as Anne Sullivan. The role required discipline, vulnerability, and emotional precision, and Melissa delivered a performance that earned critical respect. She continued to appear in numerous television films throughout the 1980s, including Choices of the Heart, where she played missionary Jean Donovan, a role that required maturity and emotional restraint. These projects allowed her to step into more complex characters and explore difficult themes with sensitivity. Rather than chasing fame, Melissa focused on craft, steadily building a reputation as a reliable and emotionally grounded actress. Her willingness to take risks helped redefine her career and establish her credibility beyond childhood fame. Leadership, advocacy, and a voice for actors. Melissa Gilbert's influence extended far beyond acting when she became president of the Screen Actors Guild from 2001 to 2005. In this role, she represented thousands of performers during a time of rapid change in the entertainment industry. Technology, contracts, and workplace protections were evolving, and Melissa approached the position with determination and empathy. She fought for fair compensation, healthcare access, and stronger protections for actors navigating uncertain careers. Her leadership was rooted in personal experience. She understood firsthand how vulnerable performers could be, especially those who entered the industry young. Colleagues often described her as direct, passionate, and deeply committed to fairness. This chapter of her life revealed a different kind of strength, one built on advocacy rather than performance. Serving as SAG president allowed Melissa to reshape her public identity, proving she was not only a talented actress, but also a capable leader willing to take responsibility for the broader community that had shaped her life from the very beginning. Writing, reflection, and personal honesty. As she matured, Melissa Gilbert found another powerful outlet through writing. Her memoir, Prairie, published in 2009, offered readers a candid look into her life behind the scenes. In the book, she reflected openly on the pressures of growing up in Hollywood, the expectations placed on young performers, and the personal struggles she faced along the way. Rather than presenting a polished image, Melissa chose honesty, sharing lessons learned through hardship, growth, and self-reflection. She later followed with My Prairie Cookbook, which blended family recipes with personal memories, offering fans a warmer, more intimate glimpse into her world. Writing became a way for Melissa to reclaim her narrative, allowing her to speak in her own voice rather than through roles or headlines. Her openness resonated with readers who appreciated her vulnerability and sincerity. Through her books, Melissa demonstrated that storytelling does not end when the cameras stop rolling. Sometimes it becomes even more meaningful. Love, marriage, and life beyond the spotlight. Melissa Gilbert's personal life has included multiple marriages, each marking a distinct chapter of growth. Her first marriage to actor Beau Brinkman in 1988 brought the joy of motherhood with the birth of their son, Dakota, but also challenges that ultimately led to divorce in 1994. She later married actor Bruce Boxleitner in 1995, forming a blended family and welcoming their son, Michael Garrett. Their marriage lasted over 16 years, the longest of her life, before ending in 2011. Each relationship taught Melissa lessons about partnership, identity, and resilience. In 2013, she married actor and director Timothy Busfield, a union she has often described as deeply supportive and grounding. Together, they stepped away from traditional Hollywood life, choosing quieter years in Michigan before relocating to New York City. These life choices reflected Melissa's desire for balance, authenticity, and peace, values that became increasingly important as she grew older. A complicated bond with Patty Duke. At 61, Melissa Gilbert began speaking more openly about her relationship with Patty Duke, a woman she deeply admired and learned from. Their connection, formed during The Miracle Worker, was both inspiring and complex. Melissa often described Duke as fearless, someone who brought extraordinary emotional truth to her work. Watching Patty perform was an education in vulnerability and courage. At the same time, Melissa recognized that Duke carried heavy burdens, shaped by early fame and intense pressure. As a young actress, Melissa did not fully understand what Patty was navigating. But with time and perspective, that understanding grew. Rather than focusing on difficulties, Melissa has emphasized compassion and respect, acknowledging how challenging the industry can be, especially for women who grow up within it. Her reflections are not about judgment, but recognition, honoring both Patty Duke's brilliance and her humanity. Through these memories, Melissa offers insight into the realities behind iconic performances. Lessons learned through empathy and experience. Looking back, Melissa Gilbert has explained that Patty Duke's life taught her important lessons about resilience and self-awareness. As Melissa faced her own struggles, she began to see how deeply interconnected personal well-being and professional success can be. Patty's later openness about her experiences encouraged Melissa to reflect honestly on her own journey and to approach life with greater compassion. Rather than seeing Duke as a cautionary tale, Melissa views her as a reminder of strength and survival. She has spoken about how understanding Patty's humanity helped her navigate her own challenges with more clarity and kindness toward herself. These reflections are grounded in empathy, not drama, emphasizing growth rather than hardship. Melissa's perspective reflects maturity gained over decades in the public eye. By sharing these insights, she invites others to look beyond fame and remember that every public figure carries private experiences that deserve understanding, respect, and care. Honoring humanity over myth. One of the most powerful aspects of Melissa Gilbert's reflections on Patty Duke is her insistence on remembering the person behind the legend. She has emphasized that it is easy to turn celebrities into symbols while forgetting their humanity. Patty Duke, in Melissa's view, was not just an icon or a troubled figure, but a woman who sought stability, purpose, and connection like anyone else. Melissa's words encourage audiences to move past simplified narratives and acknowledge the full complexity of a life lived under scrutiny. This perspective reflects Melissa's own growth, shaped by decades of navigating fame, expectations, and self-discovery. By speaking with honesty and care, she reframes the conversation around compassion rather than judgment. Her reflections serve as a reminder that empathy is not only healing for those remembered, but also for those doing the remembering. In choosing this lens, Melissa honors both Patty Duke's legacy and her own evolving understanding of life in the spotlight, choosing truth, compassion, and growth at 61. At 61 years old, Melissa Gilbert's decision to speak openly about her experiences reflects confidence, wisdom, and emotional clarity. Rather than revisiting the past for attention, she approaches it with intention, using reflection as a tool for understanding and connection. Her words about Patty Duke are not revelations meant to shock, but thoughtful observations shaped by time and lived experience. Through honesty, Melissa reinforces the idea that struggles do not define a person, but they do shape who they become. By sharing her truth, she creates space for empathy and encourages others to reflect on their own journeys with kindness. Melissa's story continues to evolve, grounded in resilience, creativity, and purpose. At a stage of life when many choose silence, she chooses thoughtful expression, reminding audiences that growth does not end with age. In speaking her truth, Melissa Gilbert honors the past while continuing to move forward with grace and authenticity.